In America, we honor our warriors. But what happens when justice turns against one of its own? This is the story of Army Private Anthony Santucci. Anthony Santucci was born in 1991 in Ohio. He joined the Army, trained hard, served with discipline. No red flags, no history of violence. He called his mom before every deployment, wrote letters home from base. But in 2014, a military court convicted him of multiple charges, including rape and sexual assault. He was sentenced to 20 years behind bars. The story, however, is far more complicated. It happened in Louisiana, a night out. Anthony and a woman known as T.W. T.W. was married and a mother of 4. They were both drinking, both seen kissing, dancing, laughing. A local bartender later testified they looked like a couple in love. Photos confirm it. Witnesses saw it. There was chemistry, touch, consent. Multiple witnesses, including one who knew T.W. personally, testified that she was the one who pursued the relationship. One witness even saw her grab Anthony's crotch on the dance floor, a shocking moment that cast doubt on any claims of unwillingness. Anthony says they were together, twice. She never said no, never resisted. Afterward, she drove herself home. Then she called 911. She asked for 2 things: a morning after pill and an STD test. That's it. And then everything changed. What started as a consensual night turned into a criminal case. But did the evidence ever support the story she told? Or was there something else beneath the surface? T.W. said she blacked out, couldn't remember a thing. But Army forensic experts, they told a different story. Her blood alcohol level, too low for memory loss. Science says blackout requires a BAC of 0.18 to 0.20. She didn't come close. And there was more. CCTV caught her walking steadily without assistance. Coherent, coordinated, calm. Not the signs of someone incapacitated. The prosecutors leaned into emotion, but the facts were whispering something else entirely, a version of events that no one wanted to hear. Because once you question her claim, you question the entire system. The question came fast. Why would she lie? Why would anyone fabricate something so serious? But the truth, like most truths, wasn't so clean. T.W. was in a crumbling marriage. Her husband, controlling, dangerous. She came home with hickeys. She brought another man into their shared space. She needed a story, a reason, an escape. And what better defense than victimhood? She told her friends one thing, the courtroom another. But the cracks showed. 2 months later, she posted that she was in a new relationship. Smiling, moving on, no signs of trauma, no therapy, no breakdown, no fear. The narrative collapsed. Not all at once, but under the weight of its own contradictions.
generally and specifically with regard to the SHARP program, the Sexual Assault Harassment and Prevention Program that the military has adopted and the Army specifically has used. And there's several problems with the SHARP program that hopefully explain why I'm behind the Santucci's and why I'm behind military justice reform.
This is John Maher, the defense attorney representing Anthony Santucci. With years of courtroom experience, he breaks down exactly what went wrong in this case and why the Army's SHARP program may have had more to do with Anthony's conviction than the evidence ever did.
First, this program reverses the sacrosanct presumption of innocence. In other words, under American due process and constitutional law, you are innocent until proven guilty by competent evidence admitted pursuant to the rules of evidence at trial. You are presumed innocent. However, upon mere accusation nowadays in the military, where a person alleges sexual assault, she or he becomes a special victim without any adjudication whatsoever, are assigned a special victim prosecutor, and are assigned a special victim counsel, can refuse to participate in pretrial interviews with defense counsel, and can request a transfer off the post, all upon the bald, unsupported allegation.
You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But in the military today, just one accusation of sexual assault flips everything. Without any evidence, without a trial, the accuser is given special legal rights. They get a government-paid lawyer, a special prosecutor. They can refuse to speak to the defense. They can even transfer off base. And the accused, they're treated like they've already been convicted, just based on a claim.
Now, this program has laudable and great goals as its intentions. However, the execution of the program has resulted in cases like Santucci and Captain Richard Camacho, where the sacrosanct presumption of innocence was turned on its head, and these American soldiers who swore to uphold and defend the Constitution have been deprived every right contained within the Constitution. Most notably, they were presumed guilty upon accusation, rather than innocent until proven guilty.
In court, truth should matter, but in Anthony's trial, it was distorted. The judge made a decision that defied justice. He denied the jury the right to consider mistaken consent, stripped them of context. Worse, they were told if they believed one charge, they could assume guilt on the rest, guilt by assumption, guilt by suggestion. That's not just unfair, it's unconstitutional. Years later, higher courts admitted the errors, acknowledged the missteps, but still called them harmless. Tell that to the man spending 2 decades behind bars.
One of the main problems in the Santucci case at this particular point is the fact that the Article 3 federal judge sitting in Kansas believes that the Article 1 military process provided, quote, full and fair consideration of Anthony Santucci's constitutional claims. And we respectfully disagree, and we believe that the district judge wrongly decided the case. And here's why. In Santucci, there is a case on all fours, which means it is directly relevant and related, from the 10th Circuit, the court sitting above the Kansas District Court, which states that if you provide a faulty jury instruction to the members of a jury in the contested part of a court-martial, and that instruction about reasonable doubt is inaccurate, then the accused is entitled to habeas corpus relief.
In plain terms, the civilian court believed Anthony had already been given a fair trial by the military, but that's exactly where everything went wrong. According to his legal team, this wasn't just unfair, it violated established federal precedent. A higher court, the 10th Circuit, had already ruled, if a jury receives flawed instructions about reasonable doubt, the accused is entitled to relief. That's what happened to Anthony. His jury was never properly told about a crucial defense, mistake of fact, and without it, they never knew they could set him free.
There were 15 to 17 points of evidence that were introduced at trial that justified giving the mistake of fact instruction to the jury. And had the jury believed that Anthony himself reasonably believed that the victim consented to intercourse, and that belief, Anthony's belief, was objectively reasonable, that was a complete defense to all of the sexual allegations in this case. But the jury never knew that they could send him home. The jury never knew that they could acquit him and find him not guilty based upon that, because the judge wrongfully and unconstitutionally refused to tell the jury that that affirmative and complete defense to the allegations in this case existed and was potentially meritorious to send Anthony home, because we now know after the fact he passed a polygraph examination, a lie detector test, proving that he's telling the truth about the consensual nature of the actions in question that night. And that's one of the other problems with the military justice system today.
From the start, the game was rigged. Anthony's jury, not just strangers, his superiors. Men and women with personal histories involving sexual assault. Their bias wasn't questioned, it was institutionalized. And the defense? Silent. They didn't call critical witnesses, didn't show key photos, didn't challenge what they should have. Anthony was given the military's equivalent of a public defender, overworked, outmatched, and underprepared. In the civilian world, that's already a problem. In a court-martial, it's a death sentence. And while the system looked the other way, Jolynn Martinez, a prosecution witness, took the stand. A registered nurse. No bias, no agenda. She testified that everything she observed was consistent with consensual sex. Not assault, not force, just sex. When even the prosecution's own witness contradicts the charge and no one says a word, that's not a courtroom. That's a setup. Justice isn't blind. It was gagged. "11 years in, 9 more to go." The world kept moving. But for Anthony, time stopped. They say justice takes time. But what happens when time is the punishment?
We spent over $300,000 trying to get justice for our son. It's not about the money. We have missed so much of his life. He could have been married by now. He could have had children, our grandchildren. He could have owned his own business. That was always a dream of his. But instead, he is sitting in this small 8x10 cell. He's missed out on seeing his brother. His nieces and nephews have grown up. He's missed all of that. His 3 best friends were his cousins. They're all married. One has a child, and Anthony still sits here. This has shaken my faith as a Christian woman. I have prayed so hard for justice. At one point, I prayed all day, the entire day, every free moment of my day. I came home, I was so mentally exhausted, I had to go to bed. But I've come to realize that maybe God has a bigger plan for Anthony. Maybe if this hadn't happened, instead of finding out he was going to prison, we would have gotten that knock on the door that many families dread, that their loved one was killed.
She's not just a mother. She's the voice of every family that's been silenced by the system. Anthony wasn't just convicted, he was taken from a life that was just beginning.
Good morning, sir. My name is John Maher. Introducing this case, and I'm an officer authorized to administer oaths under the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the Federal Rules of Evidence. Would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I do so swear.
Outstanding. What's your name, sir?
Elbert Guillory.
Outstanding. That's your thought, sir.
Honorable members of the Parole and Clemency Board. Today, I rise on behalf of Anthony Santucci. More importantly, as a United States Navy veteran and as a practicing lawyer for 50 years, I rise on behalf of justice. First, please permit me to address the facts underlying this conviction. The so-called victim picked up Anthony in a bar. She drove him to his barracks. She went into his room. She had sex with him. She kissed him goodbye, and she drove herself home. All of these facts are verified by the registered nurse who testified that all physical evidence was consistent with consensual sex, and verified by polygraph passed by Mr. Santucci. As a longtime criminal defense attorney, I assure you that there is a 95% probability that no civilian jury could have returned a guilty verdict under these circumstances. Second, I am greatly bothered, as you must be, at the disparity in sentencing. Far shorter sentences for far more serious crimes, such as rape of children, has to make each of us stop and reflect. Disparate justice is no justice at all. Third, the severity of this sentence is totally unrelated to the circumstances herein. All parties agree that this whole matter started with an older married woman picking up a young soldier in a bar and voluntarily going to his quarters. She walks out of his quarters with some passion marks, and he gets 20 years in prison.
In America, if you're convicted, you can appeal, unless you're in the military. Then the rules change. The protections disappear. Anthony tried, filed motions, pointed to the errors, but under military law, he can't even request full federal review until he serves every minute of his sentence. That's nearly 2 decades behind bars, before a federal court can even hear his side. No civilian faces that wall, but soldiers do. The very people we ask to fight for justice overseas have the least of it back home. And even when time runs out, the punishment won't. He'll carry a lifetime label, sex offender. He won't be able to live near schools, won't get certain jobs, freedom, in name only. All because a broken system refused to fix its own mistakes. This isn't just time served, it's time stolen. In 2019, Anthony sat down with one of the most trusted polygraph examiners in the country, a former FBI agent, a 44-year Army veteran, thousands of tests, no agenda. The question was simple: did she consent? The result? No deception detected, truth confirmed. And yet, the system stayed silent. The courts didn't budge, no retrial, no hearing. One of the clearest signs of innocence. Because in military justice, truth isn't enough. Only one office can erase Anthony's conviction. Only one man has that authority: the President.
God bless the U.S. Army and God bless the USA.
He's granted clemency before.
It is a case that we've been covering since the very beginning. A man going from military hero to being charged with a war crime.
Now, Army First Lieutenant Clint Lawrence is a free man reunited with his family after serving 6 years of a 19-year sentence after a life-changing call he got at Fort Leavenworth from the president.
Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 60A. The President, as the supreme convening authority, can disapprove the findings and sentence. He can do it today, with one signature, not just for Anthony, but for every warrior still waiting for the justice they were promised. He fought for this country. Now, the country has a choice to make. Will we fight for him? This isn't just about one man. It's about the system, about how we treat those who serve. You have a voice. You have power. Write your congressman. Call the White House. Share this story, because if we don't fight for the innocent, we become part of the injustice. Justice should not be denied, especially to those who served.